Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing!
Today I found out this guy was in Batman. Despite generally enjoying Nintendo's games, even if I've never owned a Nintendo console, I just can't seem to get into the Mario Kart series. I've played every single one minus World as of this video, but I haven't felt the urge to go back to a single one of them. If I had to pick a favorite, it would probably be 8 Deluxe, although I have a ton of vicarious YouTube video nostalgia for Mario Kart Wii. Still, whenever I want my kart racer fix, there's always another face I turn to. Developed by the same people who would later become Little Big Planet's life support, Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing was released for all major platforms in 2010, alongside an incredibly impressive Nintendo DS port which runs at 60 FPS. Obviously I'm playing the PC version for this video, which doesn't include some additional characters from the consoles, but I don't really care. I don't have to explain that this is a kart racer in the same vein as Mario Kart, that's plain to see. Instead, let's talk game modes. Since I'm a bit of a basic bitch, my favorite game mode is Grand Prix, where you race through all of the game's tracks in different cups and a selectable difficulty. Here's something I've always appreciated about this particular entry in the Sumo Digital trilogy. The difficulty mode doesn't change the kart's speed. This means that if you suck, you're not forced to play a butchered version of the game. It's also good for me, since whenever I play Transformed on S-Class, I end up running into design oversights in the tracks, like you would with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in its 200cc mode. The more unique of the two game modes is the mission mode. You're given a character and a track to accomplish some more specific task, like driving through gates, not breaking any pots, or destroying a giant robot. You need to score enough stars to get at least an A rank, but the max is AAA. Okay, despite how different this mode is, and I know a lot of people like it, I actually don't come back to it apart from a fresh install of the game. I guess I just like the racing too much to really care. To be fair, the mission mode does include a couple of standard races and Grand Prix events that focus on a certain track or character theme, but I would still rather play the dedicated Grand Prix mode. This is in stark contrast to the sequels, in which I barely touched the GP mode and I greatly prefer their respective single-player campaigns. If you've been on the internet, pretty much everyone agrees that Transformed is the best of the trilogy. I can absolutely see why. The racing is the fastest it's ever been, the transformations add some variety and allow for an unprecedented diversity of track designs, and the presentation is unparalleled. With all of that said, there's a very good reason beyond nostalgia as to why the original All-Stars Racing remains my favorite. It's the driving model. Actually, it's something very specific about the driving model. Unlike in Transformed and Team, chaining boosts is not only possible, but encouraged. See, in the two sequels, if you wanted to trigger a drift boost, you had to fully cancel a drift and straighten out for at least a minute, before going back into another drift. You can still perform several short bursts back to back, but there's still that gap. In All-Stars, you don't have to straighten out. The only requirement for boosting is that you let go of the drift button for just a single frame, after which you can go right back into another drift. This effectively means that you can spend an entire race in a non-stop drift boost cycle, allowing you to go much faster than intended. This doesn't work with all characters, but as long as your turbo boost stat is maxed out, you should be able to pull this trick off. I just realized this whole thing is pretty similar to what is known as snaking in Mario Kart DS, but on a home console game. The difference in how the boost system works is why I always, without fail, have more fun playing the original Sonic All-Stars compared to the successors. Transform may be faster, Team might have slingshotting and skin boosts, but OG All-Stars has snaking. Going back to Mario Kart, the items are one of its defining qualities, and the main reason why I have a hard time enjoying those games. Getting stopped dead in your tracks by whatever the game wants at that moment is just not fun gameplay. This is even a problem in future Sonic racing games too. But in All-Stars, there is not a single item that stops you completely. Even getting hit by a barrage of missiles won't bring you to a standstill. Come to think of it, this is closer to how Mario Kart Double Dash handles items, except in that game I have the opposite problem. I don't know if it's just me, but every time I get hit, I feel as if I get a small speed boost. Like the way the camera pulls back and the effects make it almost feel beneficial. To me, that's a sign of inappropriate visual communication. Don't make slowing down feel like a speed boost. Back to the game in question, you get a total of 24 tracks to race on, split across 7 visual themes. You got tracks set in Seaside Hill, Final Fortress, and Casino Park, alongside one set in the worlds of Billy Hatcher, House of the Dead, Super Monkey Ball, and Jet Set Radio. Being a normie who has never played any of these games aside from Sonic and Monkey Ball, I can't say I recognize any potential references or minor details, but the tracks are all excellently designed and polished. I know my boy Mike doesn't like the monkeyball tracks, but those are honestly my favorite. The first one is super fun to drift around, the second one is technical and challenging, and the third has a great sense of scale. If I had to point out any one track that I don't love, it would be the final Billy Hatcher track. It looks really cool, but it has this part where if you go too fast, you end up overshooting these awkwardly spaced out ledges and have to keep trying till you get the speed right. Due to its overwhelming popularity and critical acclaim, Mario's games will typically have better production values than the equivalent Sonic game of that same time, except in maybe the musical department, but even I have to admit that the Mario games have some jams. I want to present the argument that for a brief few years, between 2010 to 2013, Sonic's racing games had Mario Kart beat in their presentation. Okay, I get that I'm comparing a Wii exclusive to a multi-platform game, which would include PC, so this comparison is a little biased, but even on the Wii, I would argue that Sonic All-Stars looks better than Mario Kart Wii. The color palette is richer, and the lack of bloom really helps keep things clean. On PC, it's not even a fair fight. Great textures, smooth models, vibrant colors, and tasteful post-processing makes this game look good even today. Hell, I think it's a little easier on the eyes than Team thanks to its simpler and more limited use of colored lighting. On the audio front, we unfortunately don't get a whole lot new. Most of the music is taken from its respective franchises, and so are the voice lines for characters that apply. I think some new voice work was recorded for racers like Alex Kidd, since he didn't even have a voice at that point, and others use sound effects like the Choo Choos or Opa Opa. What really carries the sound work is Mac McDonald, the announcer that you hear throughout the game. His delivery is perfectly cheesy, and while I tend to turn him off nowadays, I can't deny that something would be missing if he weren't in the game. I want to finish this video with a bit of a story. So, as a kid in the 2000s, I only had a PC. As I said, I've never owned a single home console in my entire life, only a PSP and a 3DS that didn't come with Mario Kart 7. Basically, the idea of a Mario Kart game on PC was just a dream at that point. Keep in mind, I wasn't aware of emulation. One day, my dad took me to one of those internet cafes, since that was before we had internet installed at our grandparents' place. The PCs in there had a bunch of games installed, most of which didn't even run well since they were too new. I'd already played Sonic Heroes on that same computer before, but something else caught my eye. It was an icon of Sonic's face staring dead at you, and since I couldn't read the full icon name because it was too long, I clicked on it immediately. It was greeted by the coolest intro animation known to man, followed by the title screen, probably on the lowest settings. All I could hear was the loud music in the cafe, so I had no idea there was an announcer at all, or how cool the main menu theme is. When I read the full title, I thought I was about to play some kind of sequel to Sonic R, since I knew about that from the internet, of course. But then Sonic comes in, driving a mini Porsche 911 looking thing, and that's when I realized what I was in for. I started the first cup, and it was insane. It was like Mario Kart, but on my computer. From that day on, I scoured the internet to find a cracked version of this game, and I'm pretty sure the reason it never worked was because I kept forgetting to actually copy the crack over to the main directory. About a year later, I was at the mall with my parents, and I saw a copy of this very game just sitting there in a game store. Best part is, it was about 10 bucks where I live, so that would be 5 in burger money. Dad got it for me, I installed it, and of course it ran like crap, but I was still the happiest 11-year-old kid in the world. Then Transformed came out, which I cracked, and realized just how bad that PC was, but that's for another time. Anyway, thanks for listening to this little story. I want you to keep in mind that my memories of Sonic All-Stars are in no way an influence on my opinion of the game. I also have fond memories of Midtown Madness, Counter-Strike, Monster Jam 2007, Super Mario 63, Tank Racer, and you know how many of those games I want to go back to? None of them, at least not right now. Nostalgia can't change how fun a game actually is to play. No amount of soft and fuzzy feelings can make me play something I don't think holds up. Although, one of those games I listed was a fan game, so I'll give it a pass. Be sure to subscribe and support the show in the description below.